My co-coach Lucy spent months in a plateau despite eating very little and working out every single day before figuring out how to boost her metabolism and finally lose the weight. And if you too have been experiencing slow or stalled weight loss despite working hard, you might think something's wrong with your body. But I'm here to tell you that you can speed up your metabolism to see more progress as Lucy did. Not by doing quick fixes and hacks, but by implementing strategic habits grounded in science and evolutionary biology. And especially pay attention to number 2, which Lucy literally paid $3,000 to learn. But before I reveal it, you must first understand what doesn't work and why. When Lucy first started losing weight, she expected things to be simple. Just eat less.
I started tracking my calories on MyFitnessPal and it suggested 1,200 calories a day to lose 1 pound a day. And I was like, well, I have no idea what that means, but let's do it.
And after some trial and error, Lucy learned what were low versus high calorie foods and was able to stay under her target enough days to see weight loss progress. First 1 pound as expected, then half a pound, and eventually nothing.
I went on weight loss forums to figure out what was going on, and many people suggested I exercise more and raise my daily calories burned.
So she did just that, exercising frantically. Again, after seeing some initial weight loss, it stopped.
I was at my wit's end. I thought maybe I was eating too much and so slashed even more calories. Now, when you're only eating 1,000 calories a day and exercising multiple hours a day, you know what you don't have anymore? A life.
She stressed out over weighing and measuring her food, meal planning, and always trying to figure out what the lowest calorie option was in grocery stores. Already having trouble sleeping, her insomnia only worsened with the added stress. And this made her exhausted and short-tempered, fighting with her boyfriend over buying snacks and hiding from social events while resenting her friends for eating what she felt she couldn't have.
And each week where I saw no change, I felt this sense of falling behind on weight loss, getting stronger and stronger. And so in a panicked frenzy, I would try a bunch of quick fixes like diet teas and fat-burning pills to force my body to change. None of these helped.
Then one evening, Lucy received a call from her mom.
Mom had been fighting diabetes for most of her life. I'll never forget this one time when I was waiting for Mom to pick me up from school after choir practice. One by one, I saw all the other kids get picked up by their parents, but Mom never showed up. Then I got a phone call from Dad saying Mom had blacked out due to a bout of low blood sugar from her diabetes and had to be rushed to the hospital. He said not to worry and just wait for more news. But of course I was worried, alone and waiting, not knowing what would happen to her. Dad eventually picked me up from school and Mom ended up being okay. But over the years, her health didn't get much better. This time, Mom somehow developed an unexplainable pain that didn't allow her to move her arm in certain ways. Scared, I asked, well, what are you going to do about it? And she just sighed and said, this is just what happens when you get older. And I was like, it was like she had given up on health, and that terrified me.
In the moment, Lucy didn't just see who she was in the mirror, but a future, older version of herself resigned to being broken, never knowing when she too might have a health attack and leave her own children lonely and missing their mom at school someday. And right then, all quick fix solutions lost their appeal.
When I stepped into Mom's shoes, it was like time expanded. I no longer wanted quick weight loss. I wanted a lifelong health. And that made all the difference. When you think you just want quick weight loss, you're in a panicked frenzy. You think, oh, if I just grit my teeth and push through long enough or pound a bunch of drugs, I'll reach my end goal and be done with it. But when you want lifelong health, there is no end point. It's an infinite game. A lifestyle choice.
No longer treating weight loss as something brute force, Lucy now approached her body like the engineer she was.
If my toaster was broken, I wouldn't yell at it, beat it up, and then try to duct tape together a quick fix to see if it works. No, I'd read the manual to try to root cause what's actually causing the problem, because just it's broken is not enough information to be helpful.
So the first step was to actually read the manual of her body, which in this case were nutrition and metabolism textbooks and peer-reviewed research. And here's what she learned.
First, our bodies are adaptation machines and are incredibly sensitive to change. It can freak out when you decrease how much you're eating for too long. Why? Hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. Our prehistoric ancestors may go through long, indefinite periods where there would be little to no food, and they needed to be able to survive that. So our bodies have developed a safety mechanism to store fat when it detects you've been underfed for too long, thinking you might be in the midst of a famine period yourself, and who knows when you'll have access to food again. It doesn't know you can just go to Starbucks whenever you want. It only knows you've not been eating enough. So it does everything in its power to optimize for storing energy as fat, slowing down your metabolic rate so you burn fewer calories overall.
So if Lucy used to lose weight eating 1,200 calories but was no longer losing any weight at those same calories, it's because her body adapted to only burn 1,200 calories now. And as she kept lowering her calories even more, her body, even more convinced than ever that it's in a famine, continues decreasing her metabolism to match it. This also explained why she was so tired and irritable all the time. She had no energy to focus because her body wasn't letting her use any of her energy. At a conservative calorie deficit of 10 to 20%, a typical person's metabolism may adapt after 3 to 4 months of weight loss. At the more extreme end, you may plateau in as little as a few weeks, which is what happened with Lucy. And when this happens, no hacks like apple cider vinegar or diet teas will help. That's because these things primarily work to suppress appetite for the short term by getting you to drink more water so you'll want to eat less food. But if your body has a slow metabolism, eating less won't help. What about fat-burning pills? Most fat-burning pills out there are made up of caffeine. And while popular sources say that caffeine can increase your metabolism, the effect is only temporary. Studies show metabolism may increase only 3 to 4% within 1 to 2 hours following caffeine intake, not the rest of the day. In order to get an 8 to 11% metabolism increase, participants had to take caffeine every 2 hours for 12 hours straight. This is why quick fixes didn't work for Lucy. What she did instead was reverse diet her way back up to maintenance for a few weeks to reset her metabolism, which meant gradually increasing her calories over time. At first, it was scary when she saw her weight shoot up.
In the past, I would have bailed. But having learned that this regain would just be temporary water gain, I decided to trust the process.
This is when she learned to not just weigh herself, but also do body measurements as well. Since weight can be made up of not just fat, but also water, muscle, and glycogen, if the weight she did gain came from water instead of fat, she should see a gain in scale weight, but not body fat percentage. This helped prevent psyching herself out and bailing on reverse dieting altogether. Once she reset her metabolism, it was time to go back into a deficit, albeit a more moderate 10 to 20% this time, and she started losing weight again.
But remember, even with a moderate calorie deficit, your body can still slow down your metabolism over time.
So Lucy learned to strategically refeed whenever she was stuck in a plateau by taking a temporary maintenance week. Over the next few months, instead of seeing progress like this, she now saw progress like this. And we have seen numerous cases of other students making the same breakthroughs after taking a week of strategic refeeding. Now, before I reveal the next 2 things she did to supercharge her metabolism, I want to caveat by saying that knowing when to strategically refeed can take some trial and error. Sometimes you may think you're in a plateau when you're actually not, because several variables can be at play when you're losing weight that causes anomalies in your data. So I recommend tracking other data like your energy, sleep, and for women, menstrual cycle like we do here. Or if you'd like a coach to guide you through the trial and error, check out the sneak peek into our Badass Body Boss program in the description and comments below. Now back to the story.
While I was happy I unbroke my metabolism by using strategic refeeds, I still felt something was missing. I didn't feel as energetic as I expected, and while progress no longer stalled, it felt slow. I thought there's gotta be something more than just not feeling broken, right?
It was during further studies that she learned that muscle burns more calories than fat at rest, about 3 times more according to researchers.
I already knew that muscle was good for you for many reasons, but knowing that I get to burn more calories was what finally made me to decide to actually start strength training.
She saw it as the holy grail of speeding up her metabolism. Now, you may think the second metabolism booster that helped Lucy make more progress was strength training, but hold on. While she did have some newbie gains where she saw body fat drop and muscle increase, after a few weeks she stopped seeing progress, neither on her tracking sheet nor in the gym. She wasn't getting any stronger.
I tried working out harder, taking deload weeks, eating more protein, taking pre-workout shakes, but nothing worked. After a ton of research, I ended up paying $3,000 for a coaching program at the recommendation of a friend. The program lasted 9 months, and to be honest, I pretty much knew 90% of it. But the coach asked me one question that was worth the entire cost of the program.
The question was, how well are you sleeping?
The insomnia I had developed all these years never really went away. I was still stressed all the time. I always knew that sleep was good for me, but it didn't click until she asked that question, just how much of an impact it may have on my body.
So Lucy quit caffeine cold turkey and started to wake up at the same time every day.
When I used to work in health tech, one of our sleep doctors recommended that, contrary to popular belief, don't start with a consistent go to bed time when getting your sleep back on track. Instead, start with a consistent wake-up time first. This is because 1, for insomniacs, it's really hard to control when you fall asleep, even if you do every bedtime ritual and go to bed at the same time every day. And 2, since our bodies are adaptation machines, over time, if you consistently wake up at the same time, you'll start getting sleepy late at night around the same consistent time too.
Note, do not attempt this during a busy month.
The first 2 to 3 weeks sucked. I was basically a zombie person. But by the end of week 3, I was falling asleep and waking up regularly.
That's when something shocking happened.
Without changing anything else, my workouts improved and I started losing fat faster than I did before.
Was it muscle?
It wasn't muscle. I would later learn that gaining muscle as a woman is slow. Assuming you really push yourself at each and every training session, the most you can expect to gain in 1 year is up to 10 pounds of muscle. And every year after that, the rate is halved. On top of that, 1 pound of muscle actually only burns about 6 to 10 calories per day, not 50 like a lot of pop magazines had told me. So if I bulked intensely for a year, I'd get like an extra apple a day. And the rate is faster for men though. You guys might get to have 2 apples. But jokes aside, while there are lots of reasons to build muscle, and yes, you will increase your metabolism over time, it wasn't the reason why I saw such dramatic improvement so soon.
The reason was simply that better sleep itself improves metabolism. When you're sleep deprived for a long time, a few things happen. Your body is so stressed that it thinks you need to conserve energy, so it hangs onto your fat a lot more than if you had gotten proper sleep. Researchers had a group of participants cut back on sleep for just 14 days and found that the amount of fat they lost reduced by half, nearly 55%, even though their calorie deficit and everything else remained the same. Plus, your body's ability to process insulin, a hormone needed to change sugar, carbs, and other food into energy, goes awry. This means you end up storing more fat since you aren't able to convert food to energy as normal. Researchers also found that lack of sleep long-term can drop your insulin sensitivity by more than 30%, which means your likelihood of storing what you eat into fat goes up by more than 30%. And on weeks where she slipped up and got poor sleep, she would inevitably see her progress slow down in tandem. Once she got strategic refeeds and sleep under her belt, there was one last thing she discovered that supercharged her metabolic rate. This one, she discovered by accident.
Up until this point, I was still exercising nearly every day, a mix of strength training, HIIT cardio, and running. Then I attended my very first Emerald City Comic-Con, a multi-day comic convention that had me on my feet all day. Now I was worried because I wouldn't have any time to work out on those days, plus I'd be eating a lot of empty calories from food courts. But it was only a week and I was about due for a refeed week anyway.
But after the week was over, she was shocked to discover that even though she ate 200 to 300 more calories per day than before, she actually lost fat.
When I looked at my pedometer, I had been walking almost 15 to 20,000 steps every day, compared to my usual 5,000 to 6,000 steps a day.
What Lucy had accidentally done was increase her NEAT, which are small, often unconscious movements we do throughout the day, like walking around, doing chores, and twitching. This is different than formal exercise like this.
Unless you train like an athlete, your calories burned per day have very little to do with your exercise routine. In fact, formal exercise only makes up a measly 5% of this, while NEAT makes up 15%. The rest are mostly out of our control things, like calories burned supporting biological function, digesting foods, etc. And it makes so much sense that NEAT is 3 times more effective than formal exercise. Because even if you're exercising daily for an hour, what about all those other 15 hours that you're awake? 1 hour of exercise does not make up for 15 hours of sitting.
Once Lucy saw this happen in practice, she cut back on her HIIT and running for cardio and instead started implementing 5 to 15 minutes of walking throughout her day by setting timers on her phone. Even though they were only for 5 to 15 minutes at a time, doing this 4 to 6 times a day totals 6,000 to 10,000 steps per day. On top of that, she'd do another 30 minutes after dinner walk with her favorite podcast, which often brought up her total to 9,000 to 13,000 steps, all without feeling like she was exerting too much effort. In the end, if there's one secret to speeding up your metabolism, it's this: slow down to speed up.
Once I regularly refed myself, got my sleep in check, and took more walks instead of working out so intensely, not only did I continue to lose fat, but I also felt so free. It was like all this extra time and energy started to free up for me so that I could enjoy other parts of my life too, like catching up with friends, hiking beautiful trails, or simply relaxing with a nice book after a long day. I was no longer spending my time agonizing over every food possibility or working out non-stop. I had a life again. A healthy life that I'm now inspired to share with my mom so she can achieve the same, and one that I look forward to sharing one day with my kids too.
While these were the 3 things that had the most immediate impact on Lucy's metabolism in her journey to lose fat and get fit, there are in fact other things you can do on the spectrum of smallest to biggest bang for the buck metabolism boosters, depending on where you are at in your own journey. If you want to know what best applies to you, 2 things. First, if you want Lucy and my help shortcutting through all the trial and error to figure out how to level up your journey, then check out the free sneak peek into my Badass Body Boss program in the description and comments below. Or if you want to DIY it, then you don't want to ignore this video where I reveal my exhaustive list of everything you can do to up-level your progress, including actions you can start doing today. So you don't want to miss this. And always remember, you can do it.